Mm.
Uh, I can always say that the friars were always present. The friars were always willing to offer something. You know, we talk about, um, God's invitation to us. And and so they were offering the invitation. It was just a matter of which students would take the invitation.
Y-
Some were very receptive, some not so receptive.
mhm. Yeah, and that's interesting. Just knowing that you came from public school and still sought that out, but again, because of that early and strong
Mhm.
formation that was modeled for you. But I know the next part of your academic journey, you went on to do a master's of education and a PhD at University of Pittsburgh, where you
Mhm.
did rehabilitation counseling and oh my goodness, sorry, I have it written down, counseling psychology. I had it top of mind. So to go from this institute where you had the friars around, where you have mass and all these sort of things, how were you able to bring your faith with you as you go into a secular space, as you continue these studies? Because seems like early on you kind of knew that you wanted to help people, to help heal people,
Mhm.
and incorporate both the faith and the therapeutic sort of philosophies together. Like how was that received? Because there might be some uh, undergrads watching this who are Catholic and maybe want to go to these various institutes, but might not be sure as to
Yeah,
how to bring that with them as they enter these sort of these
sure.
realms and studies.
I think, again, I think it's a lot of times who you involve yourself with
Mm.
in terms of relationships, friendships, things of that nature. And so as you go through, um, you come to recognize, okay, I'm studying this discipline, and there are going to be people with varying beliefs, um, and people who are going to view things differently. But I think our groundedness makes a difference. And again, I'm not going to say, Jermaine, that during that time I never questioned anything,
Uh,
or I was like, oh,
well, what did that look
they,
like for you when you hit
yeah,
those road bumps? What did that look like for you?
Well, again, I think it was an element of just asking the questions. Um, Sometimes maybe not having the same fervor regarding my faith, but yet there was always that sense that there's something important there. I think it was so much at my core that it was difficult for me to escape it. Uh, Even though, okay, I'll explore this, I'll see what kinds of things are going on. And there was in returning and looking at my faith and my belief, that was a much more peaceful place. It was where I felt a sense of security. I felt a sense of belongingness. This is where I belong. Um, and again, even when we have a sense of belonging, we go through growing pains. We have that sort of thing. But I think that it was, and I would say probably in those times, maybe I was more, okay, I'll make sure I go to church on Sunday and I'll pray here and there. But it, like I said, it maybe didn't have the fervor it had at other points in
Mm.
my life, because it also gets cluttered. You have all these demands going on. And so you find yourself just, I would say exploring probably is the best way.
Mm.
Is it worth thinking this way, like this individual, or seeing God as not having any place in one's life? And that just never made sense to me,
Mm.
to just eradicate God from my life, to get rid of any kind of connection with the church. you know. So as I was traveling, it's sort of, and that's where I look at it as a journey. It's something that, okay, and maybe every once in a while you move on this path, and it's a bit of a detour, and then it's like, oh no, I have to get back to where I am. So it's, yeah. And as you reflect, as I reflect back on that, I can see it was never, and sometimes it was difficult in those moments because some people I knew were also very firm in their belief, but other people were like, I don't believe that you even give this time a day. I don't believe that this is important. But I also tended to find myself gravitating toward people who shared some degree of belief. They may have not been Catholic, but at least there was that belief in God. There was a belief in the importance of Jesus in their life. And so you find that going on. But I also found myself fascinated by individuals with different beliefs. Like I knew a couple people who were Jewish, and I found myself taken up by how much we really had in common until it came to Jesus.
Bit of a dividing line. Bit of a
Yeah,
dividing line
and
I've
then
learned
Jesus
too.
became a little different, but we would find ourselves in interesting dialogues of our differences, but yet our similarities, and we came to respect where one another were. So I think that there was that also opportunity to kind of see these are all God's creatures, and there's goodness there. But they're at a different place in their journey, but I don't have to be where they are,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm where I am.
Yeah.
And that's part of it.